Okay, let's start from here, Butwal in Nepal. Welcome to Motorbike Tourist, my English travel vlog channel. This is one of my riding vlogs. I am going from Nepal back to India and I am riding from Butwal in Nepal to Sitarganj in Uttarakhand state in India. I was in Nepal for about 2 weeks. 7 days in Kathmandu, 3 days in Pokhara, and riding to these places to go out 2 or 3 days. And this is my final day in Nepal. I'm riding from Butwal, which is a place very close to Indian border, but I'm not crossing there. I'm going westwards to exit Nepal at its western end. The east-west highway of Nepal is completely flat, I think, at least for most of the parts I have ridden, but except for one single area which is very close to Butwal. That is about 70 kilometers from Butwal, you reach a Ghat area, which is only about 15 kilometers long, but which is also very much landslide prone. This is the area that is the Ghat area, which is also landslide prone, and you can see some of these earth and mud which has fallen onto the road is, I think, very recent. There had been a very heavy rainfall in the past couple of days while I was in Pokhara, and while I was traveling from Pokhara to Butwal, there was a place where I went through which was heavy landslide prone during that ride, and this area is something similar to that ride. This is only 15 kilometers long, so it is not much to go from here to reach a very flat landscape, which is most part of the east-west highway. But I think these landslides which has happened, I think has been very recent. I think it's been like 2 or 3 days only, these landslides. And this was quite a surprise for me because when I had entered Nepal through its eastern border, that is near Raniganj, Karnali border, when I entered it and was coming through this east-west highway for one full day up to a place called Banbassa, which is on the east-west highway from where I took the right turn. Up till that time, up till that point in this east-west highway, it was completely flat. Completely flat means completely flat. There was nothing to do on this road, like just keep your accelerator and you can even sleep on the bike. So that ride was like that, and I was expecting something of that kind of a road here. I wasn't looking at the map and all just before coming on this ride. I just wanted to get out of Nepal because my permit was going to expire. So this Ghat road was kind of a surprise. And a very good surprise at that, because these kind of roads take the monotony out of this going through straight line highways. I normally prefer going through interior roads. I try to avoid the highways. But then on this day, I had to get out of Nepal as soon as possible, like in this day itself. Like this day, by the end of this day, I should exit Nepal because my permit, which I had taken when I had entered through the Raniganj border, at that point was for 15 days. So I was looking forward to exiting Nepal, and in fact this entire ride, which I had started from Kolkata, going through Darjeeling, Gangtok, and then coming to Nepal and all that, had been like about nearly a month. So I was like tired, and I was like not having much money with me. I just wanted to end this ride somewhere, and I chose Dehradun as my final destination for this ride. So this is me going through this Ghat roads, and I was planning to exit Nepal to the end of this day, but from Butwal to reach the western border, it is about 480 kilometers or so. And this is the only place where you get some beautiful views. This is the only place where you get to see these kind of views. This is almost towards the end of the views of the mountains of Nepal. So this vlog, apart from this area, this section, this video clip, there is nothing much to see going forward, because coming up are going to be bland, straight line, flat roads, like a few forests here and there, and some villages, a lot of bridges and all that. So this is kind of the last and final viewpoint for you to see, like the mountainous regions of Nepal. Look at these mountains. This, I would say, is the last and final viewpoint of Nepal's mountains, the Himalayas. From here onwards, you're going to see completely flat straight line roads. This is yet to come to the flat straight line roads. Further going down the road, you will see from one end of the road to the other end of the road. The other things to see on this road are these bridges. There are a number of these bridges on this road, because there are a lot of rivers flowing from Nepal to India. So you get to see this quite a number of bridges, and since it was towards the end of August, this was I think the beginning of September or end of August or something like that, and so there was a lot of water in these rivers. Otherwise I don't think there is going to be much water, and also because it was raining heavily for the last 2 or 3 days. So this is one part of Nepal which is like forested area. So on this east-west highway towards the western section of this road, there are a lot of forests, a lot of them, and you have to go through these lot of forests. And one thing I must say is that before entering these forested areas, you have to provide your name and the vehicle details at the border, not at the border, some kind of a check post. So they have erected check posts just before all these forested areas, and you have to enter your name and all those details. But when I was coming, I had not thought about that. I mean, I was not thinking about such kind of check post ever being there. The other thing about Nepal is the petrol pumps. The petrol stations in this route, that is in the western section of this east-west highway, are very few and far between. Even this one which you see now, this one had no petrol or diesel. It was completely empty at that time when I went there, and so was several of the petrol pumps on the route. So to get petrol and diesel on this route is difficult, and even these petrol stations, they are very inconspicuous, like they are not very visible from the road. If you are going very fast, you will miss it. So you'll have to be beware of these petrol pumps while you are traveling on this road. So while I was coming through this route on this east-west highway, after about 200 kilometers or so, my fuel tank went into reserve. And then I was searching for petrol, and the 2 or 3 petrol stations which I went to on the route did not have any petrol. Because most of these places are forests, and this is Bardia National Park, which is on this route, and I think there are several other national parks like forested areas on this route. So petrol stations are difficult, but in small towns and cities, there are like people selling petrol in bottles and cans, but you will have to find it out. So it is a bit difficult to fill up petrol and diesel. If you are in a car, it will be much more difficult. Mine was case with motorcycle. Apart from these forested areas, small villages and towns on this route, one point of interest, that is I think one area which is of like a viewpoint, is coming up. This is the Karnali Bridge built on the Karnali River. This is the river is flowing to India. This is very close to India border, and the importance is that this is a single pillar cable stayed bridge. So on this pillar, the cables are put up to build the bridge. This is probably some kind of an architecturally important place, construction or something like that. Not much. The point is that this is the only place or the only area in this road which is of at least some importance, of some interest to tourists and visitors. Apart from this constructional feat, the other parts of this road is completely blunt, completely flat, straight, with nothing much to see. It is not very big or magnificent, but compared to the other places you see on this road, this bridge is something. It stands out. It stands out from the other places, which is visually unappealing. The other thing is that most sections of this east-west highway has been built with this Nepal-India cooperation. So I think there has been some financial assistance, collaboration, or some vehicle to build this road, that is the east-west highway, which extends from the western border to the eastern border of Nepal. So it goes through the entire length of this country and is an important highway, important artery for Nepal, because before this road came into existence, people used to cross over to India, then travel from there to another part of India, then cross the border again to Nepal to reach some other place they wanted to reach. That was the case before this road came. With this road, there is much more movement or mobility or accessibility for people to reach different places in Nepal. So this is an important road, and this is a very arterial highway, but there is no such vehicle traffic in this road. Even if this road is very important and a lot of people access it, use it to reach from one part of Nepal to other part, the amount of traffic is significantly less, I think. I mean, I'm not sure why, but I didn't see much larger vehicles like trucks and buses on this route. For that reason, I think the road is maintained very well. Because the vehicle traffic is very less, there is not much use of this road by vehicles. The roads are in good condition, so that is one advantage. My traveling style is usually to avoid these kind of highways, long highways, which is kind of never ending, and find some interior roads to go through, because those are the roads where there is much more beauty, there is much more cultural attachment to the places through which you go to. These are kind of bland areas. You are not doing much on these roads, like keeping your accelerator steady, and that's it, that's all you're doing. So this road, going through this road was mostly a boring experience most part of the time, except for the few forests, few fields on the sides and these bridges and all that. The other thing about this eastern highway as you go towards the west is, the thing that I noticed is that the western part of Nepal is a comparatively poorer region than the eastern parts. But that is my observation. It may not be a fact, it may not be true, but that is my observation. And one reason I think is that these areas do not have much tourist places to go to. The other parts of Nepal, most of the parts through which I have come through were tourist destinations. So the other parts, those parts were much more better off than these western region of Nepal. Most of these places are agricultural. So I think there is a slight economic imbalance between western part of Nepal and the other parts. The one other reason probably could be this, it could just be my imagination, because wherever I went, I mostly went through tourist places. So those places seem to be much more better off. Now I have reached a place called Bhimdatta. Bhimdatta is a place, I think, in the larger district of Mahendranagar, and this is the area where you cross from Nepal to India. You cross from Bhimdatta to Banbassa in India, in Uttarakhand state in India. Towards the nearer to this border, the roads are not tarred. I mean, it is in this condition, very poor condition, and I'm not sure why. So that far away, that thing you see is the gate, the India gate. It's a simple gate, nothing much complicated, nothing much interesting to see, and it seems to be also very recently built. It's some kind of an afterthought or something like that. But there is nobody near this gate. Okay, and even after that gate, for about 500 meters, there is nothing. It is completely empty, kind of a no man's land. I'm not sure why these places are like this. There is no population, so you have to go a little bit further off to see actually somebody, some kind of a border like infrastructure. And this is it. I think this is the immigration or customs, and I stopped here. They asked me like the names, where are you going, where are you coming from, and all that. Mainly they wanted to check whether I was carrying any goods like that was purchased in Nepal and I was taking to India. So any taxable goods that I was carrying with my luggage. So those were the things they asked. They immediately found out I was a traveler, so they asked me like other questions like how was the ride and all that. Nothing much to do over there, just give you a name and some other details. They probably ask you for some ID. About 5 minutes, nothing more, and you're off then. Further down this road, there is a further checkpost, like 2 or 3 checkposts. I'm not sure why, and all those things. Maybe there are some other things, immigration, probably securities, and all those things. So this is the kind of border infrastructure you see on this place. When I was entering from the eastern border, there was much more better infrastructure at that place, probably because I think there is much more traffic from there. One reason there is less traffic in this area is probably because there is a barrage. The border here is the river, the Sharda River or the Karnali River. I'm not sure which one. I think it's the Sharda River, and there is a small bridge constructed on a barrage just over here. So this is the barrage, and there are 2 names here, Sharda River and Karnali River. So I'm not sure which one is the actual name. I think it is the Sharda River. But the thing about this barrage is that it is very narrow. I don't think it will accommodate a big truck or a lorry or heavy other goods vehicles or the kind. And I didn't even see like trucks or lorries waiting to enter or going through this and all that. The other thing about this border, this checkpoint, this border point is that I think it is not open throughout, like it is not 24 hours functional. I think it is from morning 6 in the evening to morning 6 in the morning to 7 in the evening. So when I was crossing, I think it was about 5:30, just before sundown. So probably I was lucky that I could cross the border. And this barrage is also a not very big one. It is probably about 300 meters in length. There is also a kind of a small, very narrow railway track. Not sure why is that. I don't think there is any railway connection between these 2 ends. A barrage is kind of a restriction built on the river to slow down the flow of the river, to slow down the flow of the water. So it is not a dam, to be precise. It has these gates built throughout. So on the right side are these gates which can be lifted up to enable the flow of water. And I think when I was crossing, most of the gates were open because there is heavy flow of water. I think because there is a lot of water in it, as this is the end of August after the rainy season, so there was a lot of water and they were letting the water flow through. It cannot hold water permanently, so it is not a kind of a dam, but it is a small, it doesn't have a reservoir kind of effect. During the first day of my ride, after crossing the eastern border, I went through a larger barrage, the Koshi River barrage, that is in Nepal, somewhere closer to Banbassa, I think. So that was a huge barrage. That barrage had a length of about 1 kilometer, and that was very huge. This is nothing compared to that. But anyway, there is a barrage here, and the thing about this barrage is that the road is very narrow, and there are gates on both sides, and they were in fact both sides were closed. But when I came, somebody came and opened it. I'm not sure why. And here there are some vehicles waiting to cross, and there is a bus over here. So I think a bus can pass through. Not sure if a truck is allowed to enter. I didn't see any trucks or lorries on this road. But there are people purchasing goods and going from one part to the other. So I think there is some goods movement, but not much like a heavy goods movement through this road. And this road is, I think, only connecting the India and Nepal. So there is nothing apart from the connection. There is nothing much. The Sharda River also has a power plant. I think the NHPC power plant that you saw on the right side. Beyond this point, India starts. The infrastructure of India starts, and that is visible to see. The roads become much better. This is, I think, some sort of a highway or something. Not much traffic over here. So this from here, I'm going to Sitarganj, a place in Uttarakhand. That is something like about 20 or 30 kilometers from here. So by evening, I reached Sitarganj, and the next day, I went from Sitarganj to Haridwar and to Dehradun. So those rides, that ride, and further after that from Dehradun I went to a few other places in Uttarakhand like Mussoorie, Dhanolti, Tigri Dam, Rishikesh and all that. So all those rides and videos and vlogs are coming up in my next videos. So I'm ending this one here. Well, I'm hoping you liked it. I know for sure that this one was not very interesting as my previous vlogs, which had a lot of beautiful viewpoints and other things to see on the sides of the roads, but to compensate that I'm going to put more videos and vlogs about my further travels, which is to Uttarakhand, then I went to Rajasthan, from there I went to Ahmedabad, then to Maharashtra, Karnataka and all that. So all those videos and vlogs are coming up. So try to support me by subscribing to my channel. And do let me know if you have some comments. The link to my next video, that is my ride from Sitarganj to Dehradun, is just over here, the one on the right side. So thank you.